Okay, Mech Commanders, continuing our Mech review here, jumping in to a series of machines that I've seen in the tech manuals, but I've never seen and I've never played them on the table. And this is an opportunity when approaching new machines to build a checklist and ask the question, what does this mech do? What's its role? Is it a trooper type mech? Is it dedicated to one particular aspect or one particular role? And then from there, ask the questions, how does it build and play out individually, but also as part of a lance? And then finally, layering it over the question only you can ask, how does that fit to your player personality? Is this a machine that you want to play? So we're jumping in with the Hoplite, some Lost Tech, New Tech, Star League. This is a mech that, looking at the games I've played, really thinking about them, I've never encountered. I've seen it in the tech manual. I've read it in the narrative. So let's jump in. You've got a medium mech, streamlined, simplified. 2 weapons. We're looking at the LBX, Autocannon 10, and an LRM 5-pack. So these 2 weapons, it's interesting. It's almost like you have 4 weapons, and weapons with enough heat sinks that you can fire every single turn. You're really only limited by ammunition. So from that perspective, if you can take the shot, absolutely take the shot, because you're going to be able to consistently fire and fire and fire. So what do I mean with 2 weapons that are kind of like 4 weapons? Well, there must be some sort of switch to flip based on the tech with the Autocannon 10 and the LRM 5 either going direct or indirect. Both these weapons are geared up for medium to long range. The tandem, they work perfectly together, so you have that redundancy, but you can switch with the autocannon to fire solid or burst. The solid is an Autocannon 10, right? Clan Tech, or I should say Clan Tech was built on Star League Tech. So you have that solid Autocannon 10 firing out, but you can flip the switch and now just throw out a bunch of pellets, and essentially that in combination with the LRM 5 creates an interesting spread. So light mechs, they're a little bit worried, right? Things are going to be spread out. You take 2 or 3 hits, it's spread out. You're going to punch through something. In terms of crit seeking, mediums and heavies and maybe even assaults need to kind of look out from that perspective. So in that moment where you need to do some damage, you're firing one way. When you need to fire the other way to spread it out, you're spreading it out. Backed by an LRM 5. Would I like this to be a 10? Yeah, but I understand, right? It's a medium. We've got to kind of have things spread out. You also have indirect fire with that. Now, an LRM 5 indirect fire, that's kind of harassment, right? Just to kind of put something down on the table, see if your opponent bites. But if there's spotting and it's part of a lance, and maybe you've got a 10 or a 15 pack and a 5-pack, that gives you something to do as you move on the way in. So from that perspective, I see this as an interesting mech that joins a lance, and as part of that lance is going to either focus fire or try to, what are we going to call it, shotgun fire, to see based on the opportunity in the moment. And I could see it working to gang up on heavier and assault class mechs if you've had the ability to punch through and go to internals. From that perspective, once that happens, this mech becomes a lot more dangerous, because 2 weapons that can spread, you just need to hit that one spot, right? Roll for crit, hopefully no crit, confirm, see what happens if ammo's in there. Things get interesting in Battletech. The only limitation I see, of course, is the ammo, but in a one-off game or a single game or a game where it's going to be a couple of where ammo isn't interrupted, so it's not like part of a campaign or part 1 or part 2 and you have resupply issues. From that perspective, I don't think you're really that limited by the ammo. But certainly an interesting mech, 2 weapons that work as 4, and the choices of solid, spread, indirect fire. There's a lot more packed into it for the battle value, which comes in at about 1,000 battle value.